guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Wednesday, August 16th. We got a lot to talk about today. As crazy as that sounds, literally the middle of August. This is the middle of the middle, like as we could possibly get. Maybe one day off if you want to go the 30th, or excuse me, the 15th, because is August 30 days or 31 days? I have to sing the song
31.
every time.
Back to back, July, August.
Am I a child, or do you also sing the song in your head when
I don't know the song?
It's 30 days, has September, April, June, and November. After February's done, all the rest has 31.
Really?
So August, so August would be 31.
Anytime I hear like that phrasing, I oddly enough, this is a really like rabbit hole thing, but I think of one of the Batman games where Calendar Man is in a cell and he's just like mumbling that to himself, and it's actually really creepy.
Well, I'm sorry to evoke that memory of you so early into the podcast.
Yeah,
we're off the rails a minute into the show, but I'm glad. Hopefully, you guys enjoy.
Stick around. We got a lot for you today. We have Celtics news. We have a good Reddit post, and Rat List today is gonna be good. So stick around to the end.
Yes. Before we do get into that, though, we wanted to thank y'all for the support. We joined CLNS. We told you guys last episode, had a couple of nice comments, had some other people comment. We appreciate the comments regardless, though. I always say at the end of the shows, and I know Sam feels the same, that we appreciate the comments more than anything, because it shows that like people actually listen to us, which again, I talked about this when we talked about Joey Spatula's mentioning that like, oh, somebody came to my food truck, said they listened to the show. It doesn't like quantify in my, or whatever you want to, whatever adjective or verb or whatever, it doesn't like register. That's sort of the word I wanted. Register, click in my brain that like actual other people like listen to the show and like listen to every show. And that's just, I think that's cool. Like that's just it's cool to think about. Like we got a couple messages. Some were like, oh, you know, I don't know if they're worried that something was going to change. Nothing's going to change in terms of the podcast. The same episodes, the same daily uploads, everything is on our channel is going to be exactly the same. We're just also posting the podcast a day late.
Making new friends.
Yeah, exactly. We're also posting the podcast a day late over on the CLNS channel, who have always
the best is the two guys that just show up in the comments to fight each other.
Yeah, that's slowly become my favorite thing. I can't lie to both of you.
Peter Griffin and the chicken rivalry.
Yes,
they just like argue with each other back and forth for like 20 comments. We're like, wow, amazing. A lot of interaction. It's just two guys fighting. So shout out to you guys. Keep watching.
Yeah, we appreciate you both. Thank you all for stopping by. But let's get into the Celtics news we have today. We'll start with Kristaps Porzingis because including this one, 3 of our last 4 shows are going to be headlined by Kristaps Porzingis injury title, and the first one was Kristaps Porzingis is hurt. The second one was psych, Kristaps Porzingis isn't hurt, and this new one is okay. Wait, he's actually hurt this time, guys. I promise. So
yeah,
Kristaps Porzingis is actually hurt. He has plantar fasciitis. The original report came from, I can't find it. It was just funny to me because
it was Basketball Deutschland or something like that.
Rupert Fabig.
Yep.
He had it. And everyone was like, oh, this reporting. Then Latvia was like, no. And everyone was like, oh, this guy's a liar. And then he's like, oh, wait, he was actually kind of right. But Porzingis has plantar fasciitis. He announced it on a tweet. This is a Twitter translated tweet. So if the phrasing incorrect, we're just getting what everybody else had. It is difficult. I feel very responsible to myself and the supporters of the Latvian national team, but a decision has been made that I will not play in the World Cup, Porzingis said in a tweet. After several weeks of recovery and an MRI examination, the plantar fasciitis in my foot still prevents me from being on the field in full readiness. This is a joint decision that has been made both by the medical and coaching staff of the national team as well as the Celtics team, with the advice and opinion that is now necessary to continue the recovery process. Such a decision is not easy to make, but I promise that I will be there and support the team as much as I can. And then the Celtics tweeted out, Kristaps Porzingis has been diagnosed with plantar fasciitis in his right foot. He will engage in a 4 to 6 week rehab program and is expected to be cleared for the start of training camp. So Kristaps Porzingis is actually hurt. That is the update we have for you guys. Yep. Let's talk about it.
That one guy in our comments that comes every time and is like, hey, he sucks and he's going to be injury prone is looking real good right now. The guys in the CLNS comments from the last pod are not looking good, because the one guy was like mad. He's like, you guys clickbaited saying Porzingis was hurt. Well, unfortunately, we were kind of right, even though it wasn't our report. It was just just sharing the news that was out there. But this isn't the best start to the Tingus Pingus era in Boston. It's kind of frustrating because the whole hang up in the trade to get him here was the Clippers being unsatisfied with Malcolm Brogdon's physicals.
Yeah.
And the Celtics took on a guy. I can't imagine that this plantar fasciitis is a, hey, I got this in July thing. He was probably dealing with this before he got traded to the Celtics. And yet they went through with the trade. They gave up Smart, who was a key contributor to the team last year. Of course, Wick came out and was like, hey, we said we had to change something. So sorry.
Yeah.
But it's not really what you want when you have such a seismic shift in your roster and you're bringing in a new pillar to build on. And one of his pillars is fucked up. It's not what you want. And a foot injury for a 7'3" guy, not to be messed with. Now, I wrote about this for Celtics blog just as the newser, and I quickly did a Google. I was like, all right, let's see. Like, I know players in the NBA deal with this. Like, it's a thing. I was just curious, is it a thing that's going to hinder you for your whole career? And plantar fasciitis, as I put my stethoscope on, is a lingering thing. It's a chronic thing, and I understand that people have to rest for it to go away. But at the same time, when you Google like NBA players with plantar fasciitis, one of the first things that comes up is like, hey, Joel Embiid had plantar fasciitis last summer, and then he won an MVP. So Celtics fans, you can expect Porzingis to win the MVP, but the team is going to lose in the second round.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander also dealt with it last season.
He's also not 7'3".
He's also not 7'3", but he also made All-NBA first team. I am just saying it is possible. One Google with NBA players deal with plantar fasciitis comes up with Marcus Camby, Jakeem Noah, Paul Gasol, Joe Johnson, Ty Lawson, and Nene. Not a terrible group. Those are all pretty good players.
Well, actually, in recent years, it sounds like you have to get plantar fasciitis to be good. That's when you take your leap. Like Gilgeous-Alexander makes All-NBA. Embiid wins his first MVP after getting bullied by Jokic and the voters for 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is it.
This
is the year that Porzingis plays all 82 games.
We'll spin it. I took a nap before the podcast, so I'm in a laughing mood. And when Sam said Tingus Pingus, I looked over the show sheet, and Sam put the Kristaps news on our show sheet, and Sam wrote, Tingus Pingus made of fucking glass, dude. And I just started dying laughing. But I do think the injuries thing is important to note because I tweeted this out. If you thought Kristaps Porzingis was going to be healthy for the full season, you're delusional. Right? It was never going to happen. And it sucks that the injury stuff is starting.
With the Celtics staff, by the way. The shit training staff that I've had beef with for years. Yeah, they're the ones that's going to get Porzingis to be healthy, but no. Okay, go back to you.
And so, like, you wish that it didn't happen before the season even started, but at the same time, maybe it's better to happen now than have him recovering 4 to 6 weeks in the season. My thing is, and I tweeted this, the Kristaps Porzingis injury sucks, but expecting a full healthy season is unrealistic. He's dealt with injuries in the past, as has Robert Williams, and Al Horford's 37 years old. Like, that trio of players are each going to miss a significant amount of games individually. And I think setting a goal of, let's hope they all play 60 games is probably fine. Like, if I told you by the season's end, Kristaps Porzingis played 60 games, Rob played 60 games, and Al played 60 games, what would you say? Would you be complaining about that?
No, I don't think I would. I'd be like, okay, whatever, as long as they're healthy for the playoffs, which I guess is like what we said last time.
For reference, Al played 63 this year, and Rob played 35. So if they play 60 games, that's probably on pace for where they're both at. Porzingis this past year played 68, I believe, so he'd be taking a little step
65.
back. 65.
I've only written 65. 10 million times.
My bad. So you want to save him for the playoffs a little bit. So 60 is a fine goal for each of them. Would disqualify them from awards, but that's not what the Celtics are worried about. But at the same time, that leaves you with a cumulative. I mean, obviously, if they miss some of them together, it's less, but like bare numbers, let's say 2 of them are healthy every game and they perfectly switch it off. That's what, 60 games of backup center minutes you're going to need to find, right? Like, acting like these 3 are going to get every single center minute because that's probably what's going to happen in the playoffs is completely unrealistic for the regular season. You need Luke Cornett. You need probably a Blake Griffin. You bring him back. And then even past that, maybe you do want to bring in somebody who brings in an extra skill set. Like, I obviously don't like that Kristaps Porzingis is hurt, but I am not going to sit here and act like it's the end of the world because this is who he is as a player. Like he was always going to get hurt.
Where you're going with that.
No. No, but like he was always going to get hurt. There was always going to be something he dealt with. Even last year, his quote unquote most healthy season ever, he missed 17 games. And so if he's going to be ready for training camp, good. And then you manage this throughout the regular season, so it's not as big of an issue in the playoffs. That's the whole point. And the whole trading Marcus Smart for him thing does suck. Like that is frustrating because Marcus Smart was I mean, a core part of this team. He's a fan favorite throughout Boston. He was a key member of the community. He played 61 games last year. Marcus Smart played less games than Kristaps Porzingis last year. And I don't think this is first of all, like you said, Wick said something had to change. Something had to be shaken up.
Yes.
And ultimately that's Marcus. I just think the ceiling of the team is better now with the way the Celtics have rounded out the roster. And I think that's the important part. And saying, oh, they traded Porzingis for an injury, they traded Smart for an injury-prone big man. That's dangerous. Like, spoiler alert, if Kristaps Porzingis wasn't injury-prone, then the Celtics probably wouldn't have gotten him and, wait for it, 2 first-round picks for Marcus Smart, right? Like, they probably wouldn't have been able to get that deal done, right? You're not trading for a perfectly healthy 20-8 guy and also getting 2 first-round picks for Marcus Smart. And I love Marcus Smart, but, like, that's crazy value, and the reason why is probably because he's an injury risk. That's an asterisk, but that's a risk you have to take if you want to win a championship. And I saw somebody tweet this on Twitter, and it said, yeah, it stinks, but like if Brad just kept running it back and running his head into the wall, then he would turn into Danny. And that was largely the biggest complaint with Danny Ainge, is that he refused to package some of these guys. And I'm not saying it had to be Marcus Smart, and the reason I'm saying it is because it literally wasn't supposed to be Marcus Smart. It was supposed to be Brogdon, but like seeing Danny Ainge go, oh no, let's keep Romeo, let's keep Aaron one more year, let's keep these guys one more year, let's keep this one more year. No, let's keep.
I don't think the Ainge thing's fair.
Why?
I think because maybe they stuck around with like Pierce and Garnett too long, if you really want to point at that. But anyways, he gets great value for those two guys. Obviously, it's built the current era of Celtics. And then after they leave, you go from a Rondo centric plan to a pivot to a Isaiah Thomas is the guy now, to a Kyrie is the guy now, to
I'm not saying Danny
Kemba. Like that Celtics team from like 2015 to 2020 had so many different looks. I don't think the sticking around with guys too long is a fair poke, at least at Ainge. Like, I don't know. He made moves, and he was so active that the moves he didn't make would get out there, and people were like, well, why isn't he doing this one? And I don't know if you want to transition just yet, but he went on the Knuckleheads podcast with Quentin Richardson and Darius Miles and was talking about a trade that could have happened. I think it was in 2016. This is one I remember hearing the rumors myself, that Chicago was pondering about sending Jimmy Butler to the Celtics, but they wanted both of the Brooklyn picks that turned into Tatum and Brown. And he was like, we weren't willing to do that. And it worked out really well for the Celtics. And he considered that to be one of the best trades he ever was involved in because he didn't make it.
No, I agree. And we can pivot. My point was mainly like, it was obviously a nitpick, but he hoarded too often. It just felt like he was obsessed with making it. If he wasn't the perfect deal, he wasn't going to make it. That was Danny Ainge. And that was what he was known as. That's not like, this isn't something like I'm surprised at. And you can say good for him, but that also meant like, okay, let's roll with a bench of Brad Wanamaker and Semi Ojeleye for 3 seasons of Jayson Tatum. You know what I'm saying? And again, this is nitpicking because the Celtics were Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not saying Danny Ainge did a bad job, but like you didn't see, what's the word? Taking assets and finally just moving them into one thing. I can't think of the word for it. Combining
assets.
That's not the word, but you know what I'm saying?
No.
You didn't see those sorts of moves until Derek White, Brad Stevens, Malcolm Brogdon, Brad Stevens. You didn't see those sorts of
Brad Stevens
stuff and move it into one thing.
Brad Stevens is a force. Make no mistake. Like he is not afraid to make changes. I think him being in the coaching position really impacted how he's gone about this job because he understands how some of the players on this team need to be set up to succeed. So I think that's a big factor in that. But I don't know if it's fair to say Ainge wasn't willing to make a move because he made plenty of moves. And he didn't make plenty of moves either.
Consolidate is the word I was
consolidating assets. Okay, fair.
My point is, I don't think Ainge would have made the Porzingis trade.
I do love that the Porzingis angle here is we're like, well, everybody knew he was going to get hurt anyway. And that's why the Celtics got so much back for him. But like, okay, there was no like rule in the trade that he had to get hurt. Like,
No,
this is
I'm not
still
saying
a
I'm glad
thing that
he's
had
hurt.
to happen. Like
I'm
it was
not
a
saying
freak
like
thing.
I was hoping for it. Like I just knew it was going to happen. Right? Like
It
the
was
odds
part of the deal. Like everybody was in
Yeah.
agreement. They were like nodding. They were like, all right, fine.
No.
All right.
I just assumed like there was no he wasn't going to play an 82 game season. He's just
15 minutes on the Porzingis injury. Good job.
Yeah, we had stuff to do. Yeah, as Sam mentioned, Danny Ainge went on the Knuckleheads podcast with Quentin Richardson and Darius Miles, and he talked about a trade that didn't happen. Back in, do we have an exact year on this when this was?
I think it's 2016. He didn't
Okay.
say that, but from my memory, that is when this would have happened.
But Danny Ainge almost traded for Jimmy Butler. Sam talked about it. This is the exact quote of Danny Ainge from the podcast. Some of the best trades I ever made were the ones I wasn't able to make. Like I was trying to get Jimmy Butler from Chicago when I was in Boston, but they wanted a lot, so we didn't do it because it ended up it would have been Jaylen and Jayson, both those draft picks we got those guys with. And I bet a lot of Celtics fans are very happy. And I saw one Heat fan tweet the biggest mistake the Celtics made, and it was a picture of Jimmy Butler holding the Eastern Conference Finals trophy. And then some Celtics fan goes, Jimmy Butler is 33 and has won more finals appearances than both the Jays. I think we'll be fine. But I love Heat Celtics rivalries.
It worked out for the Celtics, and Jimmy Butler's been fantastic for Miami.
And the one team that got screwed is Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago kind of sucks now.
King of the fourth quarter tweeted out, he said, let's stop acting like this matters. The Bulls would have made the wrong picks anyways.
Yeah, like Josh Jackson and, well, Chris Dunn was a Bull, but not in the draft.
It would have been Josh Jackson, and there was somebody else after Jaylen Brown who was bad that they would have picked. Dragon Bender.
Oh, Dragon Bender. Okay.
Yeah, you forgot about that one, huh?
Kevin Durant. Yep, that's the tape jersey.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about, obviously, because you go back and look. It was the 2016. USU. It was the year before the Jaylen Brown draft.
I just remember it being like right around draft night that was being discussed. It was because Jimmy was ready to be out of there, and then Chicago was out, and they get Wade and Rondo, and they play with that team, and almost give me a heart attack in the playoffs when Celtics went down 2-0 at home.
Yeah,
Luckily,
so
came back and won 4 straight.
The Celtics team that would have added Jimmy Butler was Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, Evan Turner, Jared Sullinger, Kelly Olynyk, Marcus Smart.
Well, Evan Turner.
Excuse me, I had the hiccups. Yeah, that team lost in the first round of the Eastern Conference. Yeah, lost in the first round of the Eastern Conference. You can go back and forth, though. What players would have been in the deal? Probably a Jay Crowder, probably a Avery. I don't even know what else they would have required. But then you would have created Isaiah Thomas, Jimmy Butler, maybe Al Horford still signs there. Big three.
No, Al Horford probably still would have came to town, I think. I also think that deal may have been something that they were pushing for to entice Durant, who was a target that summer. That was the Tom Brady goes with Kelly Olynyk to hang out with Durant summer. Oh, what a time that was. I remember I was working as a busboy, and I was like sneaking into the bathroom like every half hour, 20 minutes to like look at Twitter and see what was happening. And I just remember seeing that picture of all of them in the Hamptons, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's gonna happen!" Because there was real steam behind Durant coming here.
No, absolutely. I remember when the news that he signed with Golden State came out. I was at my dad's house, and I was just downstairs, and I was on my phone, and I forget if it was Henry or my dad. I think Henry came down. He goes, "Jack." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, no. And he just had like this distraught look on his face. I'm like, where'd he sign? And I go, it's not Boston. He goes, mm-mm. I go, where else could it be? He goes, you don't want to know. It was Golden State, and it was just a disaster. Yeah, man. I mean, I'll ask you this. Obviously, Tatum Brown, like dub for Danny Ainge, right? Like just straight up, like those are two of the best wings in the league now. If the qualification was you sign Jimmy Butler and you get Kevin Durant, would you have made the move? Or are you fine? And that's impossible to ask because of how great the Celtics have been with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And the obvious answer is no. But if you think about it,
at the time, you're getting essentially the same thing, just earlier.
Yes,
Jaylen Brown's worse than Jimmy Butler now. Make no mistake. But you would be getting both of those guys.
But at the time,
with very similar skill sets.
Yes. So
I'd probably do it at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, but in
Did the
hindsight,
Celtics win a
obviously,
title with
that's what I'm saying.
Butler and Kevin Durant? Probably. Yeah, I would say
And
so. They probably they probably win the bubble at the very least.
in that
Well,
timeline,
Durant could have been
Sam,
gone by then, in fairness.
in that timeline, though, Isaiah Thomas gets a ring. Marcus Smart gets a ring. All these guys get rings in Boston. If it comes with the qualification that the Celtics also got Kevin Durant, I think it would be like maybe you got to like consider it, but it's impossible to say yes to that now knowing what happened. And the best part of that to me is Chicago actually got like a pretty good return for Jimmy Butler. Like I know it.
Levine, Markkanen. I don't know what picks. I think they got Chris Dunn too.
Chris Dunn. It was Levine, Markkanen, and Chris Dunn. And right now, that looks like, okay, they got nothing because Levine, well, not nothing. They got an all-star.
Markkanen and Chris Dunn in Utah, by the way.
Exactly. I know you don't like Zach LaVine, but getting an all-star back when you're trading an all-star, like that doesn't happen often, right? Like if you're trading an all-star caliber player, you're usually getting prospects. And if those prospects eventually turn into all-stars, you did a good job drafting, but you don't usually get a guy, a budding all-star in return for that. Like that's like, I'm trying to think of the equivalent. Trading for RJ Barrett in a trade right now and him blossoming into an all-star. That's the best equivalent I can think of. And a lot of people would be impressed if that happened for RJ Barrett. And so the Bulls actually got a good return, just not exactly as good as Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. That Bulls team, by the way, they missed the playoffs. They went 42-40. It was Jimmy Butler leading the way with an old Pau Gasol, Derrick Rose, Nikola Mirotic, Doug McDermott, Taj Gibson on the team. Not a very good Bulls team. Could have used those draft picks.
That would have been 16-17.
I'm looking at 15-16.
Why?
What do you mean? I'm looking at the team.
No, this Butler would have been ahead of the 16 draft. So it would have
I know. I was looking at the team that this 16th year. I was looking at the same year that like, oh, this Celtics roster would have.
Oh, like when this would have.
Yeah. Okay.
Then coming off
next season. Yeah, the next season they still had Jimmy Butler, but then they also had Dwayne Wade.
They went and got
Gibson.
Wade and Rondo and
effectively
Robin
the same
Lopez.
squad. Yeah. Michael Carter Jr. or excuse me, Michael Carter Williams. Who the Michael Carter Jr. I was thinking Porter Jr. I didn't know he played in Chicago. That's weird. Yeah, just interesting to picture Jimmy Butler in a Celtics jersey. Would the Bulls have made the right pick, Sam?
Maybe. I'm trying to think. Like, did they didn't have high picks in those drafts?
Let me take a look. 2016 draft.
Bulls there was Field. There was Dragon Bender, like you said. Chris Dunn was still there. De'Aaron Fox was the next year, I believe.
2016, Chicago had the 14th pick. Who'd they pick, Sam? Tell me. This throwback for you. This is a tough one. Not in the league anymore. Celtics connection. Celtics connection here. Brief.
Celtics connection. Brief.
Not Boston Celtics connection.
Denzel Valentine.
Yeah, Denzel Valentine is the 14th pick. Not a great one. A few picks later, it was Denzel Valentine at 14 to the Bulls. Then there was Malik Beasley at 19, Karis LeVert at 20, Pascal Siakam at 27, DeJounte Murray at 29. So probably could have done a little bit better.
What a pick that was.
Yeah, the Spurs are built different. And then in the second round, you have Malcolm Brogdon at 36, Paul Zipser at 48, and Georges Niang at 50. Good job there, Chicago. 2017, Chicago had the 16th pick. And they picked Justin Patton, but I believe he was traded to the Timberwolves. I don't think they made that pick. Yeah, because in the 2017 draft, the Bulls traded Jimmy Butler, got 7, picked Markkanen, which was a good pick if they had any developmental skills, except they didn't. And so he went on and thrived in Utah instead. But they would have had the 3rd pick and could have picked Tatum, Josh Jackson, Fox. And at the time, like obviously right now, you look back at the draft, Jayson Tatum, you're like, duh, you picked Jayson Tatum. That really wasn't the case at the time. It was Markelle Fultz is the clear 1st pick. Lonzo Ball is clear 2. And then it was like, should you go Tatum or Josh Jackson? Like that was a legitimate question. Yes. And the fact that Danny Ainge was ready to take Tatum first, if he couldn't get a deal done, people were like, what is he doing? What is this guy like? What does he see? And clearly we all now know what he saw.
It is funny. Like that draft is stacked and none of the stacked guys were at the top except Tatum. Like Lonzo's a fine player, but he's hurt, and Fultz is fine now, but his career got off to a terrible start. Josh Jackson out of the league. Who was 5?
if you look at
Box.
box value over replacement player, which is it's listed here, box score estimate, the points per 100 possessions the player contributed. Basically, just one number that tells you how valuable the player was to his team so far. 2017 drafted is Tatum first with the 3rd pick, and then it was Mitchell at 13, Bam at 14, Jared Allen at 22, Fox at 5, and then Derek White at 29, John Collins at 19. And then you got guys Markkanen, Lonzo, OJ Anunoby, Monty Morris, Josh Hart. Like you said, stacked draft. You got Kyle Kuzma in here, Malik Monk. And I know it's still like recent. Like this was only 6 years ago, but the top 20 players on this list are all legitimate NBA players, like rotation pieces in the NBA to this day, which again, you'd say like, oh, wasn't that long ago. It's still a really good draft. Like a lot of them are stars now. So shout out to them. Don't know if the Bulls would have made the right picks, but thank you to Danny Ainge from Celtics fans everywhere for not making that trade. How different history could have looked. But
Yeah.
the Celtics schedule for the in-season tournament was released. We had Celtics schedule news on a recent podcast. And now we have more. Sam, you wrote about this for Celtics blog. Do you want to give the rundown?
Yes, the league has just been sprinkling breadcrumbs all week leading up to when you're listening to this today's schedule release at 3 p.m. In November, the Celtics will open their in-season tournament play on November 10th against the Brooklyn Nets. In their group, they've got Brooklyn, Toronto, Orlando, and Chicago. The next Friday, the 17th, they'll be at Toronto at 7:30. They will be another Friday at Orlando. Then Tuesday, the 28th, they'll host the Bulls. They'll play 4 games in the group total. Top team in the group advances, and then the next best team that does not win their group in the conference gets a wild card spot. And then there's an 8-team little knockout stage. But yes, I did write about this for Celtics blog. I'm going to try and open the damn link. There we go. Go ahead, computer. You got it. I wrote up some predictions, and I predict they're going to win the group. This group is garbage. One team in this group made the playoffs last year. It was the Nets. It was the Nets who made the playoffs largely due to having Kevin Durant and Kyrie for half the season.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, probably going to suck towards the bottom of the league, might be one of the worst teams that there is. Toronto, similar story. Brooklyn is not going to be as good as they were last year record-wise. Orlando is probably the second best team in this group, and they're like a maybe they'll be good, maybe they won't team, depending on how these young guys continue to develop. The Celtics have no business not winning this group. They just don't. They are worlds better. But prediction number 2, you know how it goes. They're going to make you sweat. That's what they do. You watched the playoffs last year. I watched the playoffs last year, and I was just as unhappy as anybody. It was terrible. Did they almost make the finals? Yes, but it was absolutely painful. If you go back and you look at their records against these teams last season, it's not the prettiest things. They bullied the hell out of Toronto, though. Swept them. Raptors. Cooked.
Not very good. See, that's the thing, though, with the Celtics. They're good against good teams. They're bad against bad teams, but they are also good against the average teams. Like they will clap any. That
was the angle I took. Like they play down to their competition like forever. I think I even linked something you wrote. But last year, 3-1 against Brooklyn. The one loss came after the trade. So with this current group Brooklyn has, Celtics blew that 1 million point lead at home. Made me like $100 that day on insurance. They split against Chicago. When they lost, they got stomped in 2 blowouts, and they were 1-3 against Orlando. They lost a home and home, 2 home games rather, on a weekend. One of them was Rob's return, and it was just a disastrous play. Orlando plays Boston really well. Even that one win the Celtics had was a tight game at the very beginning of the season. So it wouldn't be the most shocking thing if the Celtics just kind of saw how bad they could play without completely ruining this for everybody. Celtics, by the way, odds-on favorites to win this. They are the favorite. Yes. Probably because of how shit the group is. For example, Denver has a kind of strong group. It's Denver, New Orleans, Houston, Dallas, and LA Clippers.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So, like, realistically, Denver's a real contending team for an NBA championship. Dallas probably is getting there. They had a great offseason. New Orleans, if Zion's healthy, was the top team in the West for 2 months last year. Houston is trying to compete now. They went out and got free agents, albeit overpays, but still they brought in people to play with their young core. And the Clippers have Kawhi and Paul George. Whether those guys actually decide they want to take the floor is one thing. But they have the guys on their team, right?
Yeah.
This Celtics group is just like, who's the best non-Celtic in this group? Paolo or Bridges?
It's probably Levine or DeRozan. Like, that's not a good team.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
They're not a good team, but those are good players.
That's true. They're
both Siakam. Siakam too. Siakam's a good player.
Yeah, bad. Shame on me. But seriously,
no, I know what you mean though. Like, did you put predictions down for like, oh, I think they'll win this game, lose this game? Like,
no,
did you do that?
I didn't predict the games because when I wrote this up, the schedule was not out yet. And
if I had to predict the games, just quickly, I think they win. They go 3-1. They lose to the Magic. I think that's probably what happens in the groups in this in-season tournament.
Well, I'd like it if they didn't do that. Last prediction: Joe Mazzulla used the in-season tournament as an audition for playoff minutes. Here's why this is important. Last year, we saw Grant Williams axed from the rotation, right? But there was nobody that Mazzulla used to replace him in the playoffs, really. Sam Hauser barely played in the playoffs. He was a key contributor all season. We've talked about him on the show before where he was contributing good numbers. As a starter, he was even better. His percentage never dipped below 40% from what I remember us talking about. Yet he did not play in the playoffs. You might say, why? Why would he not play in the playoffs? Even his defense isn't that bad. All season, you saw teams trying to attack him, and it didn't work. It's because Mazzulla didn't trust him. He hadn't seen him in any real games, any real high-intensity games. Will these tournament games be that? There's no guarantee. I mean, listen, I'm not convinced the fans are going to care about this, but I don't think $500,000 in prize money for each player is going to do it either. But maybe if they decide that it's important, however the NBA wants to push this to their organizations, sure, I could see these games being real and competitive. Why not? So I think it could be a great like audition type thing for a higher level of play where things are gritty out there. It's not like going through the motion stuff in November and December like normal.
Agree. I think it was Bobby Marks. Yeah, it was Bobby Marks who said, I think the winner of this, should get an automatic bid to the playoffs. Like, I think that in-season tournament should get an automatic bid to the playoffs. And his thing was, it shouldn't be they get a certain seed. They should get a top 6 seed, but it's still by seeding. So if the Celtics are the 2 seed and they win the in-season tournament, they stay the 2 seed. But if the Pistons somehow manage to win the in-season tournament, they will just get the 6 seed and everything else changes accordingly. So, that's interesting. I don't know.
I've seen all kinds of stuff pitched for this. I think it's really cool. I think they should play around with the idea of teams legitimately getting stuff from this other than this $500,000 in prize money, because it really doesn't mean anything to any of the stars. The end of the bench guys, yes. Like if you're making like the minimum, like extra $500,000 is like what, like an extra 50% of your contract, whatever they make. Mm-hmm. But if you gave, I think the most intriguing one is like a 15th lottery pick where it's a very low odd, very low chance of getting like into the top 4, but just to like make it so maybe we could get lucky. Maybe we could get lucky, but that's because then
do they get the 15th pick if they don't win the lottery, or they just get a chance to win a top 4 pick? And then if they don't get a top 4 pick, they get nothing. You know what I'm saying? I
wouldn't say they get nothing, but they just get whatever pick they would have.
I think you get the 15th lottery pick, and if it jumps into the top 4, you get it. If not, you just get what other pick you have.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. That's my other idea was, I think you either get the 10 seed. I think the playoffs is too much. I think you get a spot in the play-in. So if like, let's say the Pistons or the Pacers or the Magic manage to win this tournament, they automatically get guaranteed the 10th seed, right? And that's big for those teams, right? Like if the Pacers or Magic really wanted to push for it and they get guaranteed the 10th seed in the play-in, like that's huge experience for them. So I think that's it. But then to make sure there's also incentive for these other teams, I think you say, all right, if you win the in-season tournament and you make the finals, you get home court advantage. And so that way, if the Celtics are in the in-season tournament, the Bucks are in the in-season Nuggets, they're like, all right, if we really want to look ahead, like maybe let's get some.
Maybe there's like a
let's
prize
play it.
pool. Like it's like a pick your prize type thing.
Yeah. No, I think
It's like
we
when
can
you
find some
win
ways
like
to
a
incentivize it.
scavenger hunt and they have like little like prizes for the kids. They can get like a little like matchbox or
In my elementary
a
school,
jump rope or
in my elementary school, we used to have the prize box. So like if you won something or you won a contest at lunch, the principal, Mr. Smith, he'd call you up. He's like, "Go on to the prize box," and you reach in, you grab something, and it was nothing like it was just like you said, it was a Matchbox car or it was something stupid, but it was fun because you got up in front of the whole school and you picked a prize. So that that was fun. But yeah, in-season tournament is out. The next Celtics thing we have Jayson Tatum talking about JB's extension. Excuse me, this was from Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe. Jayson Tatum talking about Jaylen Brown's extension. Much deserved. It was a no-brainer. So I'm happy for him and his family. It's life-changing. It's a big deal. I'm happy we're going to have him for however much longer we've got him. I'm happy about that. Pretty generic, good for my teammate quote. But Sam, you wrote on here, Jayson Tatum's next, right?
yeah, he has to be. I mean, next summer, we're going to have this whole thing again. I don't think there's going to be as much back and forth on whether they should do it or not. It's going to be a given. This is your franchise guy. You're going to pay him. But I'd imagine the number might be a little bit bigger than Jaylen's just because it's a year later, the cap might grow, or I don't know how it all works. But I just listening to you read Tatum's quote does make me think a bit. It's like, okay, he is completely focused on being with the Celtics. There's no question of him trying to mess around and test free agency. Like, it sounds like he legitimately is next. Like, it sounds like next summer they're going to come to an agreement where he inks a big extension. He's going to make a ton of money, and he's all about it. I remember early in Tatum's career, one thing, I think on the show we would talk about it a couple times at least, was like, oh, is he going to go like play for another team? He grew up a Lakers fan. Like, people loved that narrative for a while. It's kind of died out ever since the Celtics have really taken the next step and become a powerhouse, except they just don't win titles. But yeah, I think this is kind of good for the future if you really want to read into it other than being generic. And the answer, yes, Tatum has to be next. There's no doubt about it. Where else are you going to spend the money? There's no alternative. And Tatum is the best candidate for the Supermax. Pretty easy. If you gave it to Brown, you can easily give it to Tatum. It's a no-brainer.
Agreed. I mean, Celtics were never going to not pay Jayson Tatum. It's just he is happy for Jaylen Brown to get paid. Now they're going to have both their guys on max contracts, which, again, let's not act like that's a new thing in the NBA. Like, a lot of teams have two guys on max contracts because they're their two best players. It is what it is, right? Like, that's how the NBA works. You want to keep your guys, you pay them money. The real interesting thing is the Derek White extension, I think, coming up, which we don't have to talk in depth about, but he's going to be eligible later this summer or closer to the season.
Who cares? Pay him.
I think that'll be important. Agreed.
Seriously, you're at the point where, like, you're in this deep. Do it. Like, yes, I understand that the second apron is a motherfucker. Like, make no mistake. That thing is going to punish teams that overspend. You're going to have your draft pick drop to the end of the round. You're not going to be able to take back more money in trades. The whole nine. It's not great. Not ideal for teams that are trying to stay relevant, kind of.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, you're in this far. You can spend that money on Derek White. If you don't pay Derek White, you can't really spend it anywhere else.
No.
Right?
No, you're right. 25 mil. That's what I'm looking at for Derek White. Hopefully they can get it done. That's what I'll be looking for. Marcus Smart was working out in Memphis Grizzlies gear. Sam, you put this on here. I assume you're not too happy. It wasn't a great sight for you. It ruined your day.
Yeah, well, I saw it today after we learned like Porzingis is going to be out. I guess not out, but like he's dealing with an injury. We learned that the report was in fact true. And then you see pictures of Smart working out in Grizzlies gear, and you're just like the Wolverine meme of him looking at the photo of whatever he's longing for. So
yeah, putting it up on the screen for those watching on YouTube.
Yeah,
Smart working out his Grizzlies gear.
Later today, get to figure out when he's coming back to the Garden.
We do. We will know.
Number one on my power rankings on Celtics blog. Go read it.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big game. You go read it when it's out. That's gonna be a big
it'll be
game
out this app. When the schedule's out, it'll be out. But spoiler alert: power ranking number one game of the season.
There we go. Big time. Above Celtics Lakers on Christmas, Sam. You put Smart return above Christmas against Lakers?
You only get returns every once in a while. Seriously, like you only get like big time returns. Like I'd imagine these tickets plus Celtics Lakers not a home. Home games trump away games. Like if that game was not on Christmas, the home Celtics-Lakers game would be the better game.
Is that your list, though? It made your list, though? Christmas against Lakers?
Yes, on the
Okay.
list.
Good. Just checking. Anyways, last Celtics thing we have for the day is an email, actually, we got from a listener.
Well, mailbag.
RJ Johnson, who I have seen in the comments, I believe, before, emailed us, and Sam checks the email. I rarely check the email. But
I get all of them.
if you'd like to email us, you can. It's just hbtcpod at gmail.com. I can put it on the screen right now because I'm going to pull up the actual email and so you guys can see it. But if you'd like to email us at hbtcpod at gmail.com, we read it. We'll hear it. We'll see DMs and stuff too if you want to do it that way. But yeah, I mean, we got an email from RJ Johnson, who was very kind, and I thought it was very cool. Sam sent it to me today, and we're going to react to his questions. And if you send us emails, we'll absolutely react to your questions. This is something.
It's August. We need help, people. So if you want to ask us stuff, go ahead.
Send us emails. RJ Johnson said, "Hi, gents. This is Celtics West on Celtics blog and RJ Johnson, 43 on YouTube."
By the way.
Yeah.
Was very pleased to see me on the round table. My debut on Celtics blog. This is the guy that said hello.
But yeah, RJ Johnson, 50-year-long Celtics fan, almost, and I'm really enjoying your podcast. Old-fashioned, I like email over DMs, chat, etc. Send us emails, please, if you're listening to the podcast and you'd rather send us an email, hbtcpod at gmail.com. We'll look at them, definitely. And he asked a couple questions. We're going to read them then. Blah, blah, blah. Also, he said, seriously, you two are way better to listen to than Sean Grandy, and I look forward to each new episode. Keep having fun. Hey, we appreciate you.
Well, Sean Grandy and the fellas stole our old name, so there's that.
Also true. Friend of the pod, Sean Grandy, though. Celtics fan from when Jim Ard, he did. From when Jim Ard wore 34, RJ Johnson. That's a throwback. But let's go over the questions. Let's say Blake decides not to return to the Celtics this year. Do you think Luke Kornet can provide quality minutes filling in for Rob, Al, KP over the course of the season? We kind of talked about this a little earlier. I'm of the mind they should probably get another big man who does something a little different to Luke Kornet. I had this conversation with Bobby Manning on Twitter today. Luke Kornet's a fine defender. He's a fine straight up guy. He can block some shots. He can play straight up defense in the post. Maybe you bring in somebody with a little bit more athleticism, like a Fareed or a Bismack Biyombo, or somebody who can shoot a little bit, like a Christian Wood or a JaMychal Green.
Fareed.
I like Fareed, but I think you should get another big man. If that's Blake, it's fine. But even then, like I would be fine if they want to get another big who can do a little bit of stuff. Because I really don't see many other holes on this roster unless you want to get a guard instead. And at that point, it's picking at straws. But I'd like to see them bring in another big, and I hope it's Blake. But if not, I do think that's something the Celtics should get as like an insurance thing for the end of the bench.
Yeah. I think personally, Kornet did a fine job last season when he was called upon. He did have moments where you're like,
he was
what
good.
is this guy doing? He appeared in 71 games last year?
69. Nice.
69 games. Okay. Yeah. I should remember that. But he was really serviceable in all of his games. He kind of beat out Vonleh at the beginning of the year for that, like, helping big guy in the rotation thing. And then they cut Vonleh or traded him. And then he got cut by the Spurs. So I personally am not fearful of a world where Kornet has to fill time for the Celtics, more fearful of why he's actually having to fill that time. But I think he was fine last year. I think he earned a spot. They technically haven't re-signed him yet, right? Oh, yes. No. He's on the roster.
He's on the roster. He was on a non-guaranteed contract, but he's on the roster.
Yes.
So
okay.
Kornet is there. I think Kornet would be good, but maybe grab an extra guy.
But my pick, if not him, Fareed. Fareed rules. Go watch the video.
Fareed.
Watch the Fareed highlights. He's a dog in the G League right now. He looks like prime Kenneth Fareed. It's like, what's wrong with this? Why is nobody signing him? This guy rules. His highlights are fantastic.
January 24th, Fareed said, I'm ready, I'm focused, I'm locked in, trying to make a return to the NBA. So, hey, man, hopefully he can get there. I'd love to see him in the NBA. He deserves another chance. Hopefully we'll promote him enough.
To us, maybe
we ask Kenneth Fareed. Next question from RJ here. Which current Celtics player is best suited to fill Marcus's role of reminding Jayson and Jaylen that they can't just walk onto the court and expect victory? I think D. White has earned respect with his game, but do you think he feels the personal style to fill that role, albeit in a different style? I think if this Jays still need that reminding, then there's a bigger issue. And I'm not saying they didn't in years past, because they did. But if there was ever a time for them to finally figure it out and not be that way, it is now that Marcus Smart's gone. And maybe that's what gets them snapped into place. Yeah, I don't have no choice. But my answer is Al Horford too. I assume that's what you're going to say. But
my answer is Sam Cassell. Kind of to get into the next question too. I think that's part of the reason they brought him onto the coaching staff. Make no mistake, like he's got plenty of experience, was with Doc for years, on the assistant staff, was in Philly last year as part of that staff. But he's a former player. Guys in the league respect former players a lot, especially somebody like Cassell that was a part of a couple of winning teams. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's the one that has to set them straight every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them respecting him. And I don't necessarily think there's going to be another guy on the team that's going to do that. Maybe Al Horford. I think Cassell is the man to say, get your head out of your ass, buddy.
I hope so. I hope that's what they brought him in for. I mean, Charles Lee's there too. He's another well-respected assistant. They do have guys on the roster that should be able to. Maybe it's Phil Pressey. We don't know. It's another former NBA player on the roster.
LeBron
The Celtics beefed up. He did. He did kind of. And then the last question, RJ, or second to last, I guess, hit us with: Do you two have any more intel on what roles members of Coach Mazzulla's staff will have both in game and on the player development front? One, no, we're not that in tune. I wish we were. That'd be pretty cool. But if I had to guess, it's Charles Lee is the lead assistant. That is his role. He is the top assistant on the team. I assume Sam Cassell helps in the role of, I am a former NBA player. Let me do a little bit of what Damon Stoudemire did, where he's helping the guys. He's given that perspective. Phil Pressey will also probably do that a little bit. Emil Jefferson's there too, probably more as he feels like the closest thing to a player's coach, in the sense that, I mean, he's not all that much older than them, but like he'll probably like relate to them the best, if that's something that needs to be done anymore. Does that make sense? Like he seems, remember when Evan Turner was on the bench?
I know what you mean, but I just think he's there because he's Tatum's friend.
Which is possible, but you want that too. Jayson Tatum,
I think that's
Jayson
a cool
Tatum.
thing to say, though. He's definitely done enough to earn it. He had a career. He was on the Celtics training camp roster a couple of times. He was on the preseason roster. He wore number 20 at one time.
And then obviously Sam Cassell is all the things we just talked about, like the player development, the mindset stuff, and that stuff's important too. So I don't know specific roles though. Like I don't know who will focus on defense, offense, etc.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's not much more to say than that. I have no assistant coach intel. The only take I have is the Sam Cassell take. I just think he's there to set them straight. And just to piggyback on you, when they lost Damon Stoudemire, it felt like it was something that was really felt. Like they really missed him. Once he left, they kind of went on a weird skid. They blew a couple leads. Grant said he was going to make both, and then things went to hell. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it wasn't covered enough or talked about enough that were like, oh, they really lost like one of their top assistants mid-season. In a season where Joe Mazzulla was thrust into the spotlight.
Joe Mazzulla just becomes Will Smith in the room by himself.
And then the last thing RJ said, finally, when will you guys sell Matt the Rat stuffies? We still need to make you guys
subs.
Yeah, we need to still make you guys ratless t-shirts. We did promise that, so we need to get on that.
I want hats. I would wear a hat.
Hats
T-shirt,
cool.
I don't know.
We'll make the t-shirts. But like, maybe we'll sell a specific design that you can get on hats or t-shirts. We'll figure something out. We'll find a way. We'll do our research. But thank you to
if anybody
RJ.
knows somebody that can do it, let us know.
Yes, let us know graphic design stuff. But thank you to RJ for hitting us up in the comments. We appreciate it. I thought that was super cool.
Yes.
And if you want to reach us again, hbtcpod@gmail.com. I think that's dope. So we'll definitely read out your responses if you send us an email or a DM or any of that stuff. But thank you to RJ once again.
50 minutes. 50 minutes in mid-August.
Lots of Celtic stuff. We got plenty of stuff for you. And let's get into the NBA here. Starting with, I believe, PatBev quote on Trae Young is the first thing we got. So I'll let you lead that because I know you put it in the sheet. Hit me.
PatBev, interesting take. Something about these guys that used to play in Minnesota or played for Minnesota or currently do, and trying to say that somebody's changing the game.
I think Karl Anthony Towns, even, he said it on Paul George, not Pat Bev. There's too many pods now. I lose track. Anyways.
Yeah, whether it's Cat saying he changed the game, now you have Pat Bev saying Trae Young is reinventing the game. Whatever Steph Curry is leaving over, he's taking it and running with it. Took his team to the Eastern Conference Finals, fact. He's won big on the road, fact. So you have to give him a lot of credit. I suppose all of that is true. He's not lying, but I'm not convinced he's necessarily Stephen Curry. I think he's just a different player. I think we've talked about this before.
I agree. I think Pat Bev is just doesn't have the correct definition of reinventing, because he said Trae Young is reinventing the game, and then he said he is following in the footsteps of Stephen Curry. Like, that is not reinventing. That is
he's
taking what
reinventing the
Stephen
game,
Curry
but he's
did.
also the same guy, Steph Curry.
That is like the exact opposite of reinventing. Like, I think
guess
you could argue any other player in the league is reinventing more than Trae Young, who is just,
I would say,
and that's not a knock on Trae Young, but
in fairness to
that's bad.
PatBev, Steph Curry did a lot to change the game. So
Yeah.
I guess what he's saying is he'll be the guy to carry on the torch in
which
that
I agree.
type
He's up
of
there.
area.
Yeah.
I suppose.
I don't know. I see the angle he was going for. My question is, does Trae Young win a championship, Sam?
Maybe.
That's my question.
Not right now.
No.
I think a
Not
lot's
in
going to
the-
have to change.
Mhm.
I don't think we should completely throw out that run where they actually made a run, though.
I agree. I don't think he wins one in Atlanta, but I think he moves to another team and he might get one.
I think there were flashes against the Celtics where you were like, wow, this guy can take over a game. I mean, he took over games better than anybody on the Celtics did in that series, it felt like.
And you can mock Madison Square Garden all you want. He killed the Knicks. It wasn't a great Knicks team, but
it's the Knicks.
I know, but like, that is a playoff series at Madison Square Garden with a crowd that was.
I mean, they
on his
beat the
ass.
1 seed Sixers if you really want to, crown them.
Also
and
true.
he had Ben Simmons, who at the time was a really great defender, still kind of is, guarding him and chasing him around as a 6'10" guy guarding a 6'1" guy on the perimeter.
Yeah. He deserves credit. Trae Young deserves credit. All these rankings without him in the top 5, I think, are crazy. Yeah, I have point guards in the East. Trae Young's good. I think
No
he's
more
getting a bit
rankings, by the
underrated.
way.
Well, we've only
no
done
more videos.
Yeah, it didn't do very well. You're right.
No one cared.
Next thing we have here is Jamal Murray is going to be sitting out of the World Cup. Another guy missing the World Cup in addition to Porzingis. He was going to play for Team Canada, but was this an
Celtics
Instagram
fans,
post?
Nuggets fans, handshake, players not playing in the World Cup.
Jamal Murray said, "When I came into training camp, I wanted to see how my body would respond after a long and demanding season, if I would be physically able to compete at the highest level required for the World Cup. In consultation with medical staff and the team, it is clear that the additional recovery is required, and I have made the difficult decision not to participate in the tournament. It's still a dream of mine to represent Canada at the Olympics, and I will support the team every step of the way as they pursue this goal." Sam added some context here. Thank you, Sam. Missed the entire 21-22 season with an ACL tear, played 85 total games in 22-23, including the playoffs. Excellent in the postseason, averaging 26, 7, and 5.5 assists. Good playoff run for Jamal Murray.
7.5 is 7 rebounds.
Sorry,
7 assists.
Seven assists, 5 rebounds. Incredible in the postseason. Won a title, obviously. Get your rest. I mean, Jokic is chilling, watching some horses, and he's literally all of Team Serbia. I think Jamal Murray can set out with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander carrying the torch.
It's true.
So that's my take there.
I think it would have been kind of interesting if he did get to play. Do I think Nuggets fans should be concerned with this? Probably not. I think the wording's a bit weird. I think that he's saying he's still recovering is just kind of weird. Like, I don't know. Like, that doesn't seem super duper normal. I get it. It's a long season. He didn't even play the year before, so his body's getting back up to speed. And he clearly wasn't slowing down because he did play so well in the playoffs. But I just do wonder, like, what's going on?
This reads, "I'm tired. Let me rest." That's what I'm reading.
I guess.
I wouldn't read too much
Sure.
more into it, but maybe. I guess we'll have to see. I don't know. All right. You want to do Sam's Reddit post of the day? Sam?
Yes.
Hit me with what
I
you
really
got.
enjoy these.
This is slowly becoming my favorite part because I don't know anything about it, so I get to live react.
Yes. So this is from user 2021 Dark Moss 3S's XP. He posts on the NBA subreddit, or she. What is your quote unquote, "there is nothing you can say to me that would ever change my opinion," NBA opinion? And the context would be, this goes beyond unpopular, beyond bold, beyond controversial, an opinion that, irrespective of its merits, if God himself came down and said otherwise, you wouldn't change your opinion if you believe in God. Some people don't. An opinion you hold so firmly that even if the person or team that opinion was about said otherwise, you still wouldn't change it.
Man, that's a tough question to think about. I don't.
The top comment is somebody with a Pistons tag that says, "This is our year."
I saw that.
Yes.
I'm trying to not look at the comments first so I can think of one. I don't know. Like, one of my hottest takes I've said on the pod was, if you put Ben Simmons in Giannis's shoes on the Bucks, he would have won an MVP. And I think I've said this multiple times on here. My my context is Ben Simmons was good at everything except shooting. He was great, like peak Ben Simmons, great at driving to the hoop, could score, great playmaker, probably a better playmaker than Giannis. So if you put him on that Bucks team with Drew shooting the ball, Chris shooting the ball, Brooke shooting the ball, and then Connaughton and whatever guy you want to like shooters around him, and not pair him with literally one of maybe two players in the league who has to be in the paint, which is the one thing Ben Simmons shouldn't be playing with. I think he would have been an all-NBA player every year and probably would have won an MVP. If you put him in the exact situation Giannis was in. I genuinely think Ben Simmons could have won an MVP.
I think your argument is good, but I just don't think the mindset was there. I just think even in Philly, like there were times where they were set up to be so good. I mean, they had that team with him, Redick, Jimmy, Tobias Harris, and Embiid. They didn't make it past that Kawhi Raptors team. So obviously they were the title team. Nobody
I agree.
made it past them.
I agree, right? They were good, but that's effectively JJ Redick and 4 non-shooters trying to win a championship.
Well, Harris can shoot.
Well, if he's your second best shooter, then that's probably not a great.
It's not perfect.
More spacing lineup.
No, it's not perfect. But I just don't think like he's mentally weak. Like you just see like asked out of Philadelphia after things didn't go well, hasn't really played for Brooklyn. Like went on the Redick pod last year and was like, poor me, and didn't do hasn't really like done anything to just get himself back out there. I don't know if I really believe in that. I'm not saying your take is outrageous. It makes sense. But I just think Ben Simmons is just like a weird character where it's just not going to work. Mine is that Zach LaVine sucks. I don't think he's a winning player. I don't think that his stats are positive. I don't care how many points he averages. I don't think you're putting him on it. And, it could happen. Putting him on a team that's going to be really successful. It just doesn't feel that way. It feels like Chicago has done everything they can to build a successful team around him. Make no mistake. It hasn't all worked out perfectly. Vucevic, kind of an old school player, needs the ball down low. DeRozan, old school, needs the ball in the mid-range. Like there's a lot of issues with the current core. When they had Lonzo healthy, they were very good. They were towards the top of the conference. So in fairness to him in that respect, but it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know. It hasn't been proven wrong yet. So I'm going to stand on it that I'm just not impressed with him. I'm not.
Where did this hate for Zach LaVine start? Like, I don't even understand where it came
I don't even
from.
remember. I just think people started comparing him to like Jaylen Brown. And I was like, this is ridiculous. The guy's never even like been competitive in the playoffs. Like, he's never played in those tough games. And I mean, they had that one series against Milwaukee where they took a game off him. I think the game they won, he didn't play in.
All right. Jaylen Brown is better than Zach LaVine. Obviously the defense.
I think I just got sick of seeing those posts and I was like, what are we doing? Like this isn't even close.
I think I agree. Jaylen Brown's a better player. If you put Zach LaVine in the position Jaylen Brown's been put in, like, of course he would have won more.
It hasn't happened yet.
All right.
Like he's played like 4 playoff games. He's been in the league as long as Marcus.
Are we really going to go back and look at the teams? I don't want this to turn into me defending Zach LaVine because that's what it always turns into. But are we really going to compare the teams Jaylen Brown has had to the teams Zach LaVine has had?
No, like Jaylen Brown has been undoubtedly set up for success. Make no mistake. But LaVine should have more than 4 playoff games played in 9 seasons if he's legitimately like a positive impact player.
You think if Jaylen Brown was on the same team Zach LaVine was on, they would have been to the playoffs more?
Maybe. You really can't say.
I don't know, man.
Especially after the conference finals, it's tough to point at that. But I don't think it's the most egregious thing.
This is your nothing you can say that changed the opinion.
No, this is like you just can't change my mind. Like Zach LaVine, if he's playing against me and the boys, we're gonna win.
Looking at some of these things here. Suns win the championship in 2007 if Dion and Amari aren't suspended for putting their tippy toes on the court. That's funny.
This guy with the Spurs tag, there has been some rigging done in the draft lottery. I think everyone's kind of in on that one. Everybody's like in agreement.
Probably. The Kemp, Peyton, Sonics teams were the best to lose to the Bulls in the finals. It's very random. Kobe isn't top 10 all time. Sure. Kevin Durant should get his jersey retired in OKC. I would agree. I think he should.
I don't know, man. That's like the Ray Allen thing here, except Durant's literally the best player that's ever been on that team since they moved. So it's a little different, but
And he also played on the team for more than how many seasons? 2, 3 seasons?
Allen was on the team for 5 years. Durant was on
Okay.
the team since they arrived till 2016. So 7 years in OKC
1, 2, 3,
itself?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years.
No. Since they actually got to Oklahoma City.
8 years with OKC, but 9 years with the franchise.
Yes.
Because like Sean Kemp's jersey is retired for the, you know what I'm saying? Like it is...
No, I get it. It's just like, I don't know. That's a tough one. Like, I think the way you leave kind of does matter. And like, they didn't win a title. It's not the Celtics. It's not a title or bust franchise. But
yeah,
I do think there is something to be said about the way you leave a team. That move with Durant is like the ultimate villain move like ever. He went and joined the Warriors, which we already talked about today, oddly enough. And he did it after OKC got beaten by the Warriors, and they had the Warriors on the ropes. Mm. How, as a player on that Thunder team, do you come back the next season and think to yourself that you can't beat the Warriors if Durant stays? I don't think, and I'm a KD guy, like that's my guy, I like him. But I think at the end of the day, they will retire his number. They've already let guys wear it. They've given it to like practice team guys.
Oh, I didn't know that. I believe you.
I forget. I think PJ Dozier was given 35.
Street up player. PJ Dozier never played in OKC, did he?
I could be true.
I don't know.
But I
don't know.
I remember seeing like they gave to some dude that was like, who's this guy? Which was clearly like a slight. They were like, here, go out there, Jimmy, and wear this.
35 to wear 11 players. You're right, PJ Dozier in 2018. Wow, look at you. Holy shit.
I had
no idea. I didn't even know he played there. Yeah, he did wear it. He's the only one since. I don't know. I think they should. Other teams here. Dame is not a winning basketball player. I disagree with that.
That's the Levine take.
I disagree though,
except Dame's won playoff series before.
Yeah, except Dame has literally won multiple playoff series on game-winning shots.
Somebody said, I want Iguodala.
Somebody said replace Kyrie with Dame, then I'd agree. I think that's unfair as well.
Shaq would have been the GOAT if he stayed in shape.
Possible.
Decent one. Injuries are bad. Yeah, good point. Unless they happen to get your team, then you're like, yes.
Paul Pierce was the best 1v1 competitor for LeBron throughout his career. That matchup doesn't get nearly enough respect.
It's facts!
Due to Paul being such a headline.
Now you got me fired up. That's facts. People disrespect Paul Pierce all the time and act like he wasn't the greatest rival that guy ever had. Like an individual, like back and forth rival. They had beef. Like the Celtics teams, when he was on the Cavs, went back and forth with him. Went to Miami to compete with Pierce and Garnett and Allen to make it a more competitive team. Yes, that's facts. LeBron has come out and said that Pierce is his best rival.
Okay. If you want to go like purely the rivalry, like the
Curry,
personality between
Warriors,
the two. Yes. Okay, yeah. Cool. Just making sure. I think that's all I got though. Nothing else.
Like 10 minutes out of that.
Yeah,
this was a good one. There was another one on here. I don't think I'm gonna end up using it, but when I made the sheet this morning, it was the one I was gonna go with. Biggest broke the code moment in NBA history. I'll just go through some of the top replies because I'm sure there's going to be a better one by the time we do another pod. Someone said, reminder that KG was out there trying to nibble on motherfuckers.
What does that even mean?
Brian Coangelo wearing collars that are way too big. Broke the dress code, somebody said. Reggie Evans grabbing testicles. I haven't
Interesting.
seen this. I'm not going to pull it up. Don't want to
Carlos Boozer spray painting his hair on.
I forgot about that.
I saw that today. That's one of the top ones.
No one said Wade pulling Rondo's arm out of his socket. I mean, or pulling him down and dislocating his elbow. You could also say the Olynyk pulling Love's shoulder.
Yep. Another hair one. Caron Butler for like one episode of ESPN had hair, and then he never had hair again because he got bullied.
Carmelo calling Jeremy Lin's contract ridiculous. Elton Brand bailing on Baron Davis after convincing him to sign for the Clippers. That's brutal. Oh, wait,
say that one again.
Terrible.
Say it again.
I was not aware of this before I read this comment, but it makes sense. Like Elton Brand recruited Baron Davis to go play for the Clippers and then dipped and went and played for Philly.
That is funny.
God his ass. Funny. Yeah, we don't have to spend too much time on that. But there's going to be. I like the Reddit post. I think it's good.
I enjoy it. The last one on the nothing can change.
Also, let us know.
Yeah, let us know if you have
and the other one.
Yeah. The
thing
last
you
one I
won't back
saw
down
on the No Back Down was Steve Nash is better than Steph Curry, and I was like, I don't know about that one. Also, Steph Curry went on a podcast and said if he could give out rings to anybody, he'd give them to Steve Nash and Reggie Miller. That's just another thing I remember off the dome. But all right, let's get into the rat list here.
Snub Chuck.
Yeah, he specifically said I would not choose Chuck actually on the show.
No.
He said I would not give one to Chuck.
Man.
Okay,
Chuck.
let's do rat list, Sam. You want to kick us off here? We got a heater of rat list today.
I have major beef. You want me to
Do
fix the background?
Run it. I'll put it on. You talk. I'll put Matt the Rat on the screen. I got it.
Major beef. Rat list, the state of Rhode Island. This has been an ongoing thing for.
Is this construction?
No.
Oh, okay.
This has been an ongoing thing for the last almost 2 months now. So I've had this driving saga. It has finally come to a conclusion. But it has not come to a conclusion without hardship. I thought I may lose my license for a month. Didn't. Only had to pay a fine. Bless up. The 3 people ahead of me in court did everything they could to try and make the judge angry. So I go through court, pay my fine. Now, when you leave court, the guy's like, hey, you can't pay today. We have to process all of this. And, you pay online tomorrow. Fine. I pay. It's all taken care of. I come home on Sunday to receive a letter that was received by us on Saturday that says, notice of license suspension, reason not appearing in court / paying fine, active September 25th. So I go to call the state offices for the DMV on Monday. Rhode Island celebrates as the only state in the nation victory over Japan Day. So it's a state holiday. These people are not working. Right. I didn't realize this until 10 calls to the DMV in. And then I was like, oh yeah, okay, everybody's off today. So I called them yesterday. And I'm like, hey, I paid. I showed up in court. Why did I receive this notice? And they're like, oh no, you're good. Everybody that appears in court gets one of these. And I was like, what? I was like, so you must get calls like this all the time. They were like, yeah. I was like, why do you send out notices that people's licenses are going to get suspended?
Did you ask them this?
Yes. And they were like, well, it's just kind of a reminder. It's meant to be a reminder. It's like, then say reminder, pay your fine, or you will get your license suspended. Don't say, hey, your license is suspended because you didn't pay a fine when you did. I was anxious for 3 days over that. I was going to rat list it last time, but I wasn't sure. I didn't want to jinx it. They were like, no, you're good. I was like, can you check? And they checked. They were like, yeah, case closed. Also,
that's so weird.
And they automatically get sent out. So why would you send that out the day of? They don't even give you a chance to pay. It's automatically sent. There should be a 5-day grace period where you don't get mentally bullied by the state. Yeah, the state doesn't put you at gunpoint and be like, hey, I know you paid, but just reminder, pay. Terrible.
Yeah, that's horrendous. That doesn't even.
Dude, I went into shock for 90 seconds on Sunday because I thought they went to the monitor and doubled back on the decision to just fine me. Mind you, I was just texting and driving, but I'm an anxious person, so things build up.
No.
I didn't do anything. If you didn't hear the last pod,
I agree. I'm gonna rat list moving my sister Grace into school. She is an RA.
An activity.
So she moved in early, right?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to rat list Emmanuel College. I'll name drop it. Don't care. If you go to Emmanuel, your school sucks. We get there, right? First off, left at 9:30. Traffic, getting to Boston, bad. Not fun. This is a whole day of rat list. I'm going to start from the top.
Okay.
Get in the car. Already not looking forward to it because we leave 30 minutes late because my mom gets a phone call that she has to answer. So my sister and I are just waiting by the door, right? Rat list, having to wait 30 minutes, getting out the door. Extended the day, was not happy, and I already woke up early and I didn't sleep well last night. Get on the road, 2 minutes in, I call my mom, hey, just to let you, because I don't know the route perfectly. I'm an anxious driver. I have road rage. I don't like driving into the city. I take the T to avoid it. We've talked about this. 2 minutes in the drive, call my mom, we're going here, right? And she goes, yeah, just follow me. I'm like, okay, fine, that works. Look down, don't have gas, have to stop at the gas station. Pissed. Whatever.
Not the best.
Little reroute, get to the gas station. when I tell you that every FedEx truck in the county of Bristol County decided to be at that one exact gas station at that time, there were literally 5 FedEx trucks in the gas station parking lot, along with 2 gas tankers.
I wonder if that's a diesel fuel thing, because I was driving this weekend and I passed a gas station and the diesel price was all zeros. So they were definitely out of diesel. So I wonder if that was like the gas station that had it. Like that's the only one with diesel. Like they have a monopoly on diesel fuel.
It was a 24-hour Cumby, so they probably got some diesel. But I was mad. Got in the parking lot, just amazed getting around these people. And then the trucks are so big that my mom and I were trying to go out the exit, and another car was coming, and they had to like screech on the brakes and let us go because they weren't fucking paying attention either. So ratless that, get on the highway, it's fine. Traffic inbound was annoying because I was trying to follow my mom, and cars kept cutting in between us. So I was getting frustrated. Whatever. Finally get there. We go past these like cones to get to a certain area. The campus police comes up and say, just like, he was very nice. He was just like, you're supposed to be here, right? Like, what are we doing? I'm like, yeah, we're allowed to be here. We're just moving stuff in. So I was already irritated, right? You know how when you move into school, I know you were a commuter, but you move into school, they have these like these bins for you to wheel around, right? You can wheel your stuff. They have.
I don't know, but I would imagine that is a thing. Yeah,
they have these big bins they can wheel. Yeah, not for RAs. That's for when the students move in. So we got no bins. There was nothing. There was nothing to help us.
You think the RAs would get more respect?
You'd think
Even though I'm pretty sure they do get like free housing. Is that true?
It's a percentage, and then the second year they get free housing.
Spot, but
no. Yeah.
True thing.
No, yeah, that's standard. Or it's very cheap the first year, and then 100% off like every second, third, or fourth year you do it. She's gonna do it for this year and then next year because she's going into her junior year right now. So we get there. There's no wheelie stuff, but my mom brought this dolly, right? This thing to like wheel stuff in. Now, my mom gets very mad when I put her on the rat list, right? This dolly
is like a 3-pod streak she's on.
She's on a heater. She's on a heater. Do you remember gym class when those rolly things you had that you would roll on, just the pads?
That's the thing. Like that's the little like imagine like a wakeboard with wheels.
Effectively, that was what we had.
Yes.
That was
boogie
the dolly.
Board. No. Yeah, boogie board, right?
She brought that and bungee cables to tie to keep the stuff in place as it rolled.
I mean, I guess you have to work with what you got.
It was not effective. It was terrible. They had a dolly inside though, right? Like they had something you could roll. It was very small, but they had something you could roll inside. It was basically like a miniature version of the things they have at Home Depot. It's got the it's got the handles, you can push it. However, there's no ramp. There's no ramp into the building.
That's not very inclusive.
Not at all.
It's 2023. They don't have a wheelchair ramp into the building?
No, not in the front, and we couldn't access the back. So no. So we had to carry everything.
Was there at least one in the back?
Maybe, but we don't have access to that. So
I wonder if that's a lawsuit. Emmanuel College, Ratless, just gonna rob them.
Mm-hmm. We start carrying stuff in. We get the first setup in, then we're like, okay, let's start using the dolly. My mom was hell-bent on using this dolly. And we weren't parked directly in front of the building, so we could just carry stuff, get it inside, put it on the dolly inside. There was like, I'm trying to think like how far it was. It was like a 100, 200 foot walk, which isn't long, right? It wasn't like we were walking across the campus, but it was just long enough where using the dolly is useless, but it's annoying to have to carry it that distance. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also because there was construction on campus, and so there was a giant hose running across the sidewalk. So you'd have to lift the dolly over it every time to use the dolly and go across the sidewalks and a sewer grate in between the two sidewalks where they split up. And so my mom was just starting piling stuff on this dolly, and I'm like, Mom, this isn't working. She's like, I'm going to use it. And so I just started picking stuff off the dolly and carrying it myself. And then she got really mad and put the dolly away. So took a bunch of trips back and forth to the car, got it in front of the building, took more trips back and forth up these 3 miniature flights of stairs. They weren't like full flights, but like sets of 5 stairs. There were like 4 sets of 5 stairs getting into the place we needed to be.
Correct.
And then we got it all there. Then we put it all in a dolly, brought it all the way to the elevator, left it in front of the elevator, took trips up the elevator, got it up to the fourth floor, got all around the corner, got in front of the room. So that took forever. That was annoying. That took like an hour, maybe an hour and a half just to get all that stuff up and
sounds
up and
like you got exercise today, though.
Clearly, yeah. It was annoying.
Go slam back like a piece of cake.
Mm-hmm. I will be. I have some leftover Mexican food in the fridge. I'm going to be eating later.
Fine.
Quesadilla and tequila.
Mind you,
very good.
I want everybody to understand right now. We have written out what our rat list will be on our show sheet.
I'm not
I
done.
Can see. Jack is 2 bullet points out of 5 into this story.
I'm not done. No AC in the building. 0. It is maybe 80 degrees in this building. 85. And I'm lugging stuff back and forth all around, bringing a bunch of shit. That was terrible. Luckily, Grace has this like industrial sized fan she put in her room. So like the room was okay
Baller.
after a little while.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was truly truly horrible. It was horrendous. No, it was cooler outside than in the building.
Yes.
It was terrible. And then my sister brought way too much shit. Ratless Grace. Just obscenely way too much stuff. I'm sorry. I don't care. We filled 2 full cars with the seats down in the back. Useless. So pissed, right? So, excuse me. Sorry. Ratless Grace for that.
Story.
One of the things she brought was a mirror. And you asked, oh, yeah, of course, you bring a mirror, whatever. First of all, we get there. Grace brought 2 mirrors. I look at my mom. I said, Mom, I will bet you $20 there is a fucking mirror in the room. We get there. There's a mirror bolted to the back of her closet door in the room. No. There was a mirror. The mirror she brought, one was like a wall mirror. It's a big circle. It's fine. Whatever. Useless. The other one was a 5-foot tall mirror that weighed like 20 to 30 pounds. For what? Why do we need a 5-foot tall mirror in a dorm room? What are we doing? And it'd be one thing, right? There's nothing to prop this up on. If you want to look in the mirror, I'm going to be standing up on YouTube. You have to be like bending down to use the mirror. Unless you're 4 foot tall.
How tall is your sister?
Like 5'6". So she's going to be like bending down. And guess what, Sam?
The mirror is 5 feet.
It is. But it's on the floor. It's on the ground.
But if she slants it, like if she leans it against the wall, you can use it.
I don't care. It's stupid. It's literally, it's just sitting in the corner.
I understand there is a mirror in the room, so all of these points are valid. Like 2 mirrors already had a mirror. Tough.
And the mirror that's on the closet door is literally elevated so she can just stand in fucking front of it. The mirror that we brought is just standing in the corner.
Maybe she's making a fun house.
The reason I was so mad. I was so mad at the mirror is because it was like one of those things that you can't carry anything else.
I was mad at the mirror.
You're carrying this 5-foot tall, 30-pound mirror upstairs. I can't have something in my other hand, right?
Yeah,
this was a one-trip item.
Yeah, this
one-trip items are the worst.
Thing.
No, I carried it myself, but like that was my one trip. It was a one tripper, right? So there's that. The worst thing I carried all day, and this is another rat list. Cases of water bottles might be my least favorite thing to carry. They're not heavy.
Those are tough.
They're not heavy. They're just awkward. They're just heavy enough where it's annoying, but they're not heavy. Like they're not the right like size where you can like prop it up somewhere. You just have to kind of hold it awkwardly and carry it.
They usually have like where there's openings on the side where you can grab them. No.
Yeah, but when I'm piling other stuff on top of it to make one trip, that stuff starts to rip. So I've got to carry it underneath and walk like an idiot. So that's something. What else do I got? Shitty cabinet. Oh, great. This was where I got mad. This was like the anger peak of the day.
Now, did you act out?
What do you mean?
Like, did you let everybody know you were angry? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I broke this cabinet almost. Like I
broke this cabinet. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's still functional, but it's still a little broken. So Grace bought this cabinet for her room, right? Because she lives in a fucking penthouse, apparently. She bought this. It's just like, I don't know how to describe it. I bet I can find it. Let me just
something that runs in the family. You shopping for the penthouses, and then now Grace RA dorm is a penthouse.
I was so right. I forgot about that. I was so mad. I don't even like know if I could find an image to like explain what this is.
So Grace brought her own cabinet to college.
Yes, but she brought it in the box. It was not built. So who had to build it when we got there?
You did.
Me. I had to build it. And it wasn't one of these things where you just pull out of the box. They have those stupid little wrenches. No, I needed a screwdriver and a hammer to get this done.
So they did not provide you with the tools to do the job.
No. And I was hoping I'd be like, oh, you need this. And Grace would be like, oh, yeah, damn, we'll build another time. She goes, no, I brought that stuff. I'm like, all right, great. I'm really glad you brought it. Sitting on the ground. But the way the construction worked was the first like 5 portions were just you put these little pegs and you connected them together, and then at the end you would nail everything in
like
and
a
it would
big Lego.
forward together. Yes, but the issue with that was the pieces kept fucking falling off when you tried to move it anywhere.
Were you
And
supposed
so
to glue them? No, because you can take it apart. and
They're
move
just
it.
pegs. No, that's the thing. You can't take it apart though, because I did nail it in and screw it in at the end. So
oh yeah, you nail them. Okay.
So, but that part only happens at the end when you box it all in. So at the start, when it was just the shell, it was just like the middle shelf and the sides. It was just like loosely fitted together. And so whenever I tried to move it or adjust it, it would fall. It would fall. It would fall. They'd get in the way. And at one point, I just smacked it and it like chipped open a little bit somewhere. So she got some chips in it that I was mad. And then it took me like an hour and a half to build this one cabinet. And I was so mad. And at one point, like, I don't know if there was like, the styrofoam packing stuff. It like got near me and I threw it away, but it like floated in the air and fell on me. And I threw it away again. It floated in the air and fell on me. I just started snapping it in half and I threw it in the corner.
This sounds like it was like your it
was Oppenheimer. This was my Oppenheimer.
Yeah. This was your. I was going to say it, but I didn't know if you wanted me to say it.
No, we'll say. I say
this was your atomic bomb.
I say it too often. That was awful.
Well, that's what Monday's holiday was celebrating, by the way.
Yeah.
That I couldn't call the DMV.
That was terrible. And building furniture is a rat list as well. It's truly horrendous. So that made me mad.
Good rat list story.
We got Tasty Burger at the end, so I was happy eventually.
Okay.
But and also getting to hammer in the nails on like it was just like the backing things. Was
that your cathartic?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was literally sitting there smiling.
Nobody's getting those nails out.
No.
How did your ankle hold up in all of this, by the way?
It's fine. My ankle hasn't been as bad lately. Okay. It's definitely still very swollen, but I think
it's up and down the stairs.
Yeah, no, I was good. I got my Crocs on though. We were good. All right.
Each of us have 4 rat lists, by the way, today.
We got plenty of stuff
for it. This is 10 minutes in, and we have done a quarter of it.
Yes.
We're going.
Your turn. I'll throw it to you. A rat list, Emmanuel College.
Rat list. People who drive cars that either used to be police cars or they look like police cars.
This is a great rat list.
If you are like driving one of those cars, you are the worst person ever.
Mm-hmm.
They should not even sell cars that are the same model as police cars.
Not even look like it. I don't care if it's not the same brand. If it looks anywhere like it. Well,
if not you have the bumper thing on the front, you're the worst. I had somebody, I was driving through a neighborhood this morning that was riding my ass in one of these cars.
Horrible.
And it was a morning where it wasn't extremely warm out. It was misty, so I couldn't see super duper clear out my back mirror or back window, right?
Yeah.
So I see a black Ford SUV with the bumper on it behind me, and I'm like, all right, well, I can't speed. I just talked about being afraid of losing my license for like 5
years. Of course.
Right? So now I'm like angel driving. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm stopping at the stop signs, as everyone knows I'm not a fan of. And I have this guy riding my ass in the neighborhood. I'm like, what is going on here? So if you are driving one of those cars, you are the absolute worst. You didn't go to ball this weekend, Jack, but on the way to 295 from the gym, there was somebody's car, clearly used to be a police car, had the blue stripe on the side, had the bumper on the front. Oh. It was a sedan version, parked right next to the road. Nobody in the car. I had somebody that I was driving say, hey, there's a police car, watch out. I was like, no, I saw it on the way there. It's just somebody's car.
Yeah, that's awful.
First of all, how are people buying police cars resale?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Is there like a Craigslist or a Facebook Marketplace where cops are just like, yeah, all right, like this one, the police department's like, we need some extra money. The taxpayer dollars are not enough.
I ran into something like this today because I told you, I was following my mom to the school, and I may or may not have run a red light in Boston because I was trying to follow her, right? But then as soon as I get through the very clearly,
that should be allowed, by the way.
Yeah,
like if you get pulled over for running a red light, just be like, I was following that guy.
Yeah. And as soon as I got through the definitely still yellow light, I see this car turn down. It was a Chevy, but it was like it looked the model. I was like, please God, don't ruin this morning for me. And then they turned eventually, but I was just like, fuck you for even.
Speaking of like that. The motherfucker that got me for texting was undercover. It was not a Ford police car. Yeah. Like around here, like all the cop cars are Fords. It was undercover. And they got me.
Ratless. That's horrible.
Hopefully,
That's
like
terrible.
this is the last time I have to talk about that saga. What a mess that was. But yes,
That's awful.
If you're driving a car that looks very similar to a police car, rat list. Bad.
That's awful. Speaking of cars, I was driving home today, right? And my mom, and again, we're two separate cars. I know relatively how to get home, but I happen to be behind my mom at this point. And so when you are on the highway, right, and you're in the far right lane because our exit was coming up, you're supposed to take turns, right? One car goes, then the car comes on the on ramp, another car goes.
Yes.
We were not in traffic. We were fully like driving, like we were fine. And so one car went up and cut my mom off and got in front of her. And I see another car coming back, but I'm like, all right, there is about 10 cars lengths behind me. There is an obscene amount of room behind me. And I don't think he has to yield, because if you're on the off ramp, you yield. That is how it works. And so I'm like, let me speed up. I'll get behind my mom close so he can just go behind me. Right. Because I'm thinking, okay, he's not even fully down yet. I'm not going to cut him off. I'm just going to let me speed up. Let him go behind me. This fucking asshole speeds up, rides next to me in the breakdown lane, to the point where I'm just like, let me just slow down a little bit and let you fucking go around me. He speeds around me in front of me. I flip him off, right? As you do. He stops, gets back in the breakdown lane, opens up his window and goes, come here. And so I drive by him and I wave and I say, bye, asshole. And I just speed past him. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
It was like one of those moments. He definitely thought he was like this big alpha tough guy, but he's definitely just got a tiny fucking penis and he's compensating for something. It pissed me off.
Nothing wrong with that.
It made me so deeply angry. Like you had fucking 10 cars behind me and you just had, and granted, there wasn't a lot of space in between me and my mom. There was maybe like a car and a half gap there. So he would, like, if he had gone in front of me, I would have had to put on the brakes to let him go. Or he could have just fucking gone behind me like a normal human being that has a fucking brain and just go on with his day. But he had to be a dick. He like stared me down as he was like riding towards the breakdown lane at the end of the merge lane. And like he goes, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, there's like, I can barely even see the car behind me. And you're making a big deal of this. So I flip him off and he comes and he goes, what? And I just stare him down and like wave and say like, yeah, fuck you. See you later, buddy. And I kept driving.
Have I done the I wish I could drive a tank thing on here before?
Yes, you have. Yeah. And in that moment,
that's tank moment. Like if I had a tank, see you, buddy. Enjoy the guardrail.
I was
safely,
unbelievably angry. I was borderline not safely in this case. I was so mad. He had to go. Oh, that was awesome. He's a piece of shit. He goes beyond the rat list. He deserved like prison. Go like that is prison. That's the prison list. That is one of those. If you break this unwritten rule, go to jail. You're an asshole. See you later. Goodbye. Yeah, that's prison time. That's a fine. That's show up in court. Get a shitty message from Rhode Island. I was so mad because this was after all the moving in stuff that I was like angry at, and then more driving stuff on the way home. My mom and I get stuck behind people who just decide to go like 30 miles an hour in a 40. So we're just driving there angry from all day. It is terrible. It was awful. Anyways, sorry. I'll continue.
All right, so this is a good one.
I've been waiting all day for that, by the way. I've been waiting for.
I can tell. Like this is the best rat list we've ever done. Maybe it might even be title material, like greatest rat list of all time. Like Kristaps injury news, greatest rat list of all time.
It's just up there.
I will say, rat list, the white trash Avengers that hang out by the basketball court near my house.
I saw this on the sheet.
Yeah. So. Jack has been to this. He played at the basketball court with me and a couple of friends before. So he's been to this area. Now the white trash Avengers were not there. This is a new bunch. This is a new thing that's started to happen at the OB basketball court. Me and the boys would go play there sometimes. Yesterday I just went by myself because nobody wanted to play. And I wanted to just shoot around and have a little bit of fun after work. So I pull in the lot. And this is like the like the bunch that's like really into cars. Like they drive like old cars, but they trick them out. Like they have super cool engines and all that stuff. Like they had their hoods open.
We called them the truck kids in high school.
Yeah. Like they're all hanging out by the court, which is fine. Like hang out, like do whatever you want. This also stems back to a couple weeks ago. I was there. We were all playing, like a good amount of us. And dude, they just kept like multiplying. Like every time like we went up and down the court, we looked over and there was more of them. And they're all like slamming back booze in the parking lot. And the best, like the ringleader is this like 10-year-old kid. And he's like out there just like smoking weed. He doesn't care. he can't be old enough to like be in middle school yet. But he's out there running around. Like he's always there. I swear to God, these people, like they're just always there. That the basketball court has become the new hangout just to go be hoodlums. Like I sound like an old man, but it's less about that. It's just like, dude, like why are all these white trash like people around here?
The hoodlum word was the peak.
Yeah, no. This is Sam yells at Cloud, but like it's a weird thing. It's like not kids being kids. It's just like this does not need to be happening. Like go do this somewhere else.
That's good.
Why is no one like? I was like almost like I almost had like a call the cops moment, but like I was shooting around, like I was like looking over my shoulder, like to see if they were like gonna go in my car.
Sam turns Karen and calls the cops.
I'm not Karen, but like, I mean, my man Timmy's just running around like just ripping cigs, like
little Timmy,
he's acting like he's 25.
Little Timmy. I love little Timmy.
So rat list the white trash offenders.
Of course. We gotta run it back a moment. Trucks on highways. I cannot express to you enough. Trucks should not be allowed on highways. Banished.
I think there should be a designated roadway.
Truck highway. That's what I was gonna say. There should be a truck highway because it is one thing when there's a truck in the right lane and you can pass them. It is another thing when there's a truck in the left 3 lanes and you can't really do shit. It's another when it's both lanes, and it's another when there's a fucking asshole in a gray Honda going less than the speed limit in the 3rd lane over, and then there's a truck in the next lane over. So you're just fucking stuck because people are passing you on the left, passing you because you can't do shit. You can't go back into the far right lane because the truck's right here going the exact speed, which he's not doing anything wrong. He's just a truck, which fuck you. And then there's somebody going too slow. So I'm stuck here going 60 miles an hour with a truck going 65 right next to me. So I can't do shit for maybe like 5 to 10 miles.
There's nothing worse than
it's infuriating. It was painful. And the best part is I'm just fucking fearing for my life because that truck tips over. I'm dead. Like straight up. I'm fucking gone. I've got no chance. Like I've got a RAV4. I've got an okay car. This fucking Shaw's truck that's driving tankered.
Dude, there's nothing worse than when they just like wall up like Trump in his prime on the highway.
It's awful. I truly don't get it. And like you said, when there's like a bunch of them, like, oh my God, last year I was driving home from New York and this truck was like determined to go faster than me. So he kept going in the far left lane to pass me. And I was going like 75. So this giant 18-wheeler is going like 85 to pass me. And then going 70 in front of me. So I'm like passing him like, all right, well, I'll just go past you. I assume like you're just found a comfortable speed.
Leapfrog.
He kept passing me. And then he kept like, I don't know if he was purposely trying to run me off the road, but he kept like encroaching on my line. Trucks need to be banished. I don't care. Fucking invent teleportation, invent something so they don't have to fucking exist anymore. I'm over it. They've got to go. Ban them drones. Or find somebody better. UPS drivers make $170K. Let them do fucking everything. Did you see that today? UPS drivers got a new bump in salary because they're union, which good for them. I mean, shit, I wouldn't want to drive a UPS truck.
Get ready to go work at UPS, buddy.
But man, trucks on highways not allowed. It's just get it out.
But here's the thing: the alternative to that is them on like regular roads that don't have multiple lanes.
Also true. Also terrible. Banish trucks. I don't care. Just 18-wheelers got to go.
I just don't like that I can't see around them. I don't like that.
Yes,
I don't like that.
agreed.
I don't know what's going on around me.
Agreed. They've got to go. I don't care.
Last one. Kind of full circle here. The New England Baptist Hospital injury report. It's something that I would like to never see again. I kind of forgot how much I hated it.
I love that you dropped the hospital, the full name. We're going not even.
Well, I can't be like NEBH because nobody knows what it means. You know, how I know what it means? I've seen it too many fucking times. That's why. I would prefer not to see that in mid-August. Really hate it.
That's flashbacks. That's
worst tweet of all time. New England Baptist injury report. Terrible.
They really picked a terrible thing to sponsor. Like
I would say ratless the hospital, but they probably do like help people. So like it's kind of
I would assume they help people. But I tell you now,
it ruined my day many a time.
if I'm in an ambulance bleeding out and they say, hey, you can go here or here, I'm not going to New England.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Spite won't use the hospital.
They can say it's a 10-minute journey. You could risk. Don't care.
Yeah. Good point.
Oh my
Good
God. What a rat list.
You know what? Power rankings of hospital that rules, Hasbro. You know why? They make toys. Same people. That's why.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, Hasbro
my
Children's
God.
in Rhode Island.
Shout out Boston Children's because my family lived there as kids because we just keep getting fucking hurt.
Henry taking naps.
Yes, but Henry got hit with a golf club in the face. Henry got hit with a bat
that's
in the
right.
face.
Yeah, was it you that got hit with the bat too, or just him?
Both of us. We both
Both
got
of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, Henry got hit in the face with a bat twice.
That's a Simone family tradition. Like all the boys have to get hit in the head with a baseball bat. Like when Jack and Henry eventually have children, like they got to go in the backyard and get whacked.
Well, I've told my story. I was running laps in the field and some dude was taking practice and got hit. Henry got hit in the face with a bat twice.
Twice.
The first one, he was very young and trying to teach Grace how to bunt. And so he got up real close to like pitch the ball and she didn't bunt.
Oh.
She hit him in the lip and he like split his lip open or something.
This is not like the fun, like people just getting like murked that I like. I don't like this stuff. Oh.
And then the other time he got hit in the head with the baseball bat, it was me.
Oh.
And I was taking practice.
Family crime, dude.
I was taking
you guys
practice.
The mafia?
On the like other side of the driveway, right? But I accidentally let go of the bat.
That's really bad luck. If you get drilled with a flying bat.
And it flew across the driveway. It hit him right in the eye. So he was like, is it Floyd Mayweather whose eye was just like this and like a ball? He was like that for like 2 weeks.
Like in terms of like funny looking injuries, like swollen eyes gotta be towards the top.
It was bad. And he got hit in the face with a golf club too, because we had this like putting green thing in our basement when we were kids, and my sister was putting and she got mad and she swung it around and she smacked Henry in the face. Henry took a beating, man.
Henry's got some tough.
What else? Other hospital things. I was running around when I was 3. I slammed my chin on a cabinet and bit through my tongue. We were hospital kids, man. They knew us by name. Shout out Boston Children's. We can tell those stories at length later on, but we are an hour and 40 minutes into our recording, so we will wrap up here. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you listen to this whole show, you're a true fan. We appreciate you for tuning in. Hopefully you like the rat list. That was a 33-minute rat list for you guys.
This may be a top show of all time that we've done, actually, because we had real news. We did 50 minutes on the Celtics. We barely did NBA stuff, which people tend to not like. But when there's stuff, we have to talk about it. And then we did the rat list for a half hour.
I mean, even NBA stuff, we did like 18 minutes of NBA. It's not like we didn't do NBA. Like we did stuff.
We had the Reddit post.
Better. So we had a lot of stuff, but thank y'all for tuning in. Send us an email, hbtcpod, P-O-D, @gmail.com. Just in case you spelled pod differently. Leave us a comment. Leave us your rat list. Were there any rat lists we missed? Did we miss any rat lists? I didn't even look at the
rat list, man. Oof.
We're an hour 40 in.
Better at this.
We'll catch up on the comments for next time. Yes. But thank y'all for tuning in. Leave us your rat list in the comments. We will be better checking them. Send us an email or DM. We check that too. I think that's super cool. And yeah, thank y'all for listening. Subscribe to How About Them Celtics. Leave us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify, and leave a comment. Again, comments, my favorite part of the show. Shout out CLNS. Thank you guys again, and I'll let Sam take us home.
Yes. Thank you very much for listening or watching. If you're watching, you're either on our YouTube or CLNS. If you're on CLNS, make sure you head over to our channel too. Make sure you subscribe to us, leave a like, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily uploads. We've been putting them out this summer, keeping everybody up to date on their Celtics dosage.
Sam pauses.
I was trying to think of a creative way to put it across. But yes, make sure you follow the channel. We've had a great deal of growth this summer. We appreciate it. If you're listening, you can find us on Apple and Spotify. You can leave a nice 5-star review like Jack said. As far as socials go, it's at How About Them C's, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Facebook page is just the name of the podcast. All of our live streams will be there. There's going to be one coming up. Monday night, I believe we're doing a live stream with the First to the Floor fellas, doing a nice trivia fun thing. So be on the lookout for that. We need to be plugging that. We'll plug it on the shorts when they come out.
Absolutely.
You can find us on Twitter Jax is at Jacksimon NBA. You can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. We have a nice collab piece coming up for Celtics blog sometime soon. That's it for us. Bye.